Have you ever found yourself in the crosshairs of an accusation, a criticism, a slander, a public attack? It is a sudden, cold, and deeply violating experience. Your character is being questioned, your reputation is on the line. In that moment, a powerful and almost irresistible instinct rises up within you. It is the instinct to defend yourself. You feel a frantic, desperate urge to explain, to clarify, to set the record straight, to present your evidence, to prove your innocence. You believe that the truth is your shield, that a well-reasoned defense is your sword, and that the path to restoring your honor lies in a direct and honorable engagement with the accusation. This is what you have been taught. This is what your good and moral nature screams at you to do. And it is, in the brutal and unforgiving world of power, the single greatest mistake you can possibly make. It is the move of the amateur, the gesture of the victim, the fatal error that does not just fail to save you, but that actively and instantly hands all the power to your attacker. You believe you are entering a courtroom to plead your case, but you are in fact walking willingly into a cage that has been set for you. There was one thinker in the history of the West who understood this dark and counterintuitive truth with a chilling and absolute clarity: Niccolò Machiavelli. Machiavelli was not a moralist, he was a master psychologist of power. He saw the world not as a debating society, but as a ruthless and unforgiving arena of competing wills. And he knew that in this arena the person who is forced to defend themselves has already lost. The true master of power, the prince, never ever explains, they never ever defend. Instead, they employ a series of devastatingly effective psychological maneuvers that do not just deflect the attack, but that absorb its energy, reverse its polarity, and flip the power dynamics so completely and so instantly that the accuser is left stunned, disarmed, and often utterly destroyed. This is Machiavelli's great and terrible secret. The act of refusing to defend yourself is not an act of weakness. It is the ultimate expression of power, the primal trap, the psychology of the accusation. To understand the power of this principle, you must first understand the true nature of the game you are in. When someone attacks you with an accusation, they are almost never interested in the truth. The truth is a boring, complex, and often irrelevant bystander in the theater of power. The accusation is not a good faith inquiry. It is a tactical move. It is a weapon designed to achieve a specific set of psychological and strategic objectives. The first objective is to control the frame. The moment the accusation is made, a frame is established. The frame is this: there is a judge, the accuser, and the audience, and there is a defendant, you. You have been placed in a position of moral and social inferiority. You are now the one who must prove your worthiness, your innocence. The accuser has seized the high ground, and they have done so without presenting a single piece of evidence. The second objective is to drain your resources. A defense is an act of immense and exhausting labor. You must gather your evidence. You must formulate your arguments. You must engage in a frantic and often public performance of your own virtue. All of your psychic energy, your time, and your focus are now being consumed by the fire that your attacker has set with a single, cheap match. While you are busy putting out the fire in your own house, they are free to continue their advance, to loot your territory. The third, and most insidious objective, is to implicate you through your own defense. The very act of defending yourself is a tacit admission that the accusation is worthy of being engaged with. It gives the accusation a legitimacy and a gravity that it did not have before. The old legal adage, "Never ask a question you don't already know the answer to," applies here. The accuser has thrown a bucket of mud at you by frantically trying to wipe it off. You are not just drawing more attention to the mud, you are, in a very real sense, rubbing it into your own clothes. The more you protest, the more you explain, the more you deny, the more you begin to look to the cynical and detached observer like someone who has something to hide. The lady doth protest too much, methinks. You have walked directly into the trap. You have become your accuser's unwitting and most effective accomplice in your own destruction. The Prince's Gambit, the power of silence and contemptuous indifference. So if defense is a trap, what is the alternative? The first and most powerful of the Machiavellian countermoves is the devastatingly effective weapon of silence. When the accusation is made, especially if it is petty, absurd, or coming from a person of no real consequence, you do nothing. You say nothing. You do not acknowledge it. You treat it as if it were a sound that is beneath the threshold of your hearing, a piece of information that is so irrelevant to your reality that it does not even register. This is not the passive silence of the victim. It is the active and deeply aggressive silence of the sovereign. It is a powerful, non-verbal statement that says, "You do not have the status to even enter my reality. Your opinion is of such little consequence to me that I will not even expend the energy required to swat it away like a fly." And this is an act of profound and terrifying contempt. And contempt in the world of power is a far more effective weapon than anger or outrage. Anger is the emotion of an equal. It admits that the other person has the power to affect you. Contempt is the emotion of a superior. It is a quiet and utterly devastating form of psychological annihilation. By refusing to engage, you are refusing to enter the frame that your accuser has set for you. You are refusing to be the defendant. You are refusing to play the game. And a game with only one player cannot be played. The accuser is left standing alone on the stage, shouting into a void. Their attack, which was designed to drain your energy, now has nowhere to go, and it begins to fester and to consume them. The audience, who was expecting a dramatic and entertaining fight, quickly becomes bored. The entire event collapses under the weight of its own irrelevance. You have won not by fighting, but by a sublime and powerful act of non-recognition. You have demonstrated, without saying a single word, that you are the one who has the power to define what is real and what is important. This is the power of the king who does not flinch when a peasant throws a stone. To flinch, to react, would be to elevate the peasant to his own level. By ignoring it, he preserves the immense and unbridgeable chasm of status that is the true source of his power. He has understood Machiavelli's great secret. True power does not need to explain itself. The fox's feint, the art of redirection and misdirection. Silence, however, is not always the correct move. If the accuser is powerful, if the accusation has gained traction with the audience, a more active strategy is required. But that strategy is still never defense. It is the strategy of the fox. It is the art of redirection. The amateur, when attacked, focuses on the content of the accusation. The master focuses on the motive of the accuser. They know that the accusation is not an inquiry into the truth. It is a move in a game of power. And so they do not defend their own character. They attack their accusers, but they do so not with a direct, head-on assault, which can appear defensive and weak. They do it with a subtle and devastating question. Imagine you are in a meeting and a rival accuses you of making a mistake that cost the company money. The sheep's move is to defend, no, that wasn't a mistake, because if you look at the data, the projections were, you have already lost. You are now a boring bean counter mired in the tedious details of your own defense. The prince's move is to ignore the content of the accusation entirely and to redirect the focus onto the accuser, character and motive. You might pause, look at them with a look of calm and slightly pitying curiosity, and ask, with a quiet and deadly precision, Why are you so eager to see this project fail? Or, it's interesting that you are choosing to bring this up now, in this public forum. What is it that you are hoping to achieve? Do you see the alchemical shift? You are no longer the defendant, you are now the prosecutor. You have subtly and irrevocably reframed the entire situation. The conversation is no longer about your competence. It is about your accuser's loyalty, their motives, their character. You have turned the spotlight of judgment around, and you have shone it directly into their eyes. They are now the one who is on the defensive, who must explain themselves, and any attempt they make to do so will only make them look more guilty, more petty, more desperate. You have not just deflected the attack, you have seized control of the entire narrative. This is a high-level skill. It requires immense emotional control. It requires the ability to see the game board with a cold, strategic clarity in the very moment when your own primal instincts are screaming at you to defend your honor. But it is the very essence of the Machiavellian art of power. You must never play the game that your opponent has set for you. You must always and instantly change the game to one that you have designed and that they are unprepared to play. The lion's roar, the overwhelming counter-offensive. There is a third and even more aggressive strategy that is to be reserved for the most dangerous of attacks. It is the strategy of the lion. It is the art of the overwhelming and terrifying counter-offensive. Sometimes an accusation is so serious, so threatening to your very survival, that silence or subtle redirection is not enough. In these moments, Machiavelli advises, you must not just defend, you must attack, and you must do so with a speed, a ferocity, and a scale that utterly overwhelms your opponent. The goal is not to win the argument. The goal is to make the price of attacking you so catastrophically high that no one will ever dare to do it again. This is the principle of pouring a bucket of blood on the first man through the breach. When an enemy shows their head, you do not just shoot them, you annihilate them. You do not just refute their accusation, you launch a devastating and multi-pronged assault on their reputation, their alliances, and their entire power base. You must be, in Machiavelli's famous and chilling words, cruel to be kind. You must be willing to commit a single, terrifying act of brutality in the present to prevent 1,000 smaller acts of aggression in the future. This is a dangerous and difficult path, and it is not for the faint of heart. It requires a profound and almost sociopathic level of psychological detachment. It requires a willingness to be seen by the naive and the sentimental as a monster. But in the brutal world of power, Machiavelli knew a reputation for being a dangerous and unforgiving enemy is a far more valuable asset than a reputation for being a good and decent person. The good person is a target. The person who is feared is a fortress. This is not a call to a life of perpetual, aggressive warfare. It is a lesson in the strategic and targeted application of force. The lion does not roar all the time, but when it does, the entire jungle falls silent. The master of power cultivates this reputation. They are often calm, quiet, and even generous. But they have made it clear through one or two unforgettable examples that there is a line, and that to cross that line is to invite your own utter and complete ruin. This is the peace of the predator, the tranquility that comes not from weakness, but from an absolute and terrifying strength, the uncomfortable truth, the choice. Before the modern soul. What is Machiavelli's hidden lesson for us today? We are living in an age of unprecedented public accusation. Social media has turned our entire world into a vast and chaotic courtroom, a digital coliseum where reputations are built and destroyed in an instant, often with little to no regard for the truth. In this world, the instinct to defend, to explain, to engage in the conversation is more powerful than ever. And it is more fatal than ever. Machiavelli's warning echoes across 5 centuries with a chilling and urgent relevance. We must awaken from our sentimental slumber. We must have the courage to face the world as it is, not as we wish it to be. We must understand that an accusation is rarely a search for truth. It is an act of war. And you cannot win a war by pleading your case to the enemy. This does not mean that we must become cynical, immoral, and ruthless. It means that we must become wise. We must, as individuals, learn to cultivate the forgotten art of psychological self-defense. We must learn to master our own emotional reactions, to see the game board with a cold, strategic clarity, and to choose our response not from a place of fear and wounded pride, but from a place of profound and powerful detachment. For the individual, this is a profound psychological journey. It is a journey into your own shadow, into the parts of yourself that you have been taught to fear and to despise. It is the journey of finding your own inner lion and your own inner fox, of befriending them, of learning to wield their immense power with consciousness and with purpose. It is the journey of moving from the one-sided weakness of the good person, the perpetual victim, to the integrated strength of the whole person, the sovereign prince of your own life. This is the great, uncomfortable, and ultimately liberating secret of Machiavelli. The world of power is a dark and dangerous forest, and when you are attacked, your greatest weapon is not the truth. It is the quiet, calm, and terrifying refusal to be put on trial in the first place. You must never defend, you must remain silent, you must redirect, or you must annihilate. This is not a choice between being good or being evil. It is a choice between being a subject or being a sovereign, between being a piece in the game or being the player. The choice and the power is entirely yours.